Welcome back to RNS Bees. Roy is behind the camera today, and I'm Shirley, so I'm getting to talk about our foobar from yesterday. So yesterday we made a video about our hive that was struggling, and we also did an inspection of our other two hives. And when I downloaded the file to my computer, apparently I did something wrong and the file was corrupted. So I don't have any video to show you of what we did yesterday. So I'm just going to tell you what we did yesterday. So our hive that we had looked at last week that we figured out had swarmed and just left a little ball of bees, we had moved them back into the swarm box so that we could reduce the number of frames that they were on. We fed them a couple of quarts of sugar syrup. We gave them a pollen patty, and we were going to wait 2 weeks and check on them and see how they were doing. Well, yesterday we looked and they were gone. So the hive didn't make it, unfortunately. So we decided that we would go ahead and take a look at our other two hives up here on the mountain. Our big bee hive was doing really well. That's been a really strong hive all summer. So when we opened that up, we saw honey banded across the top of each of the frames. We saw a lot of brood. We saw a lot of bees. And so they're doing really well. We didn't see the queen, but we didn't want to keep the hive open a long period of time while we looked for the queen, because we didn't want to invite robbing. And so since we saw evidence of a queen and having brood, capped brood, we just went ahead and closed it back up. So our big bee hive looks like they're doing really well. Now our sunset hive over here, that is the smallest colony of bees that we have had. That was the swarm that we got that was on a fence post. It was the smallest swarm that we got early in the summer. And these were the it's the last colony that we actually put into a big hive. We had left them in the swarm box up until just about a month or so ago because they just weren't building up all that much. But we went into the sunset hive yesterday and they were looking pretty good. There are quite a number of bees in there. We did actually spot the queen because we had marked her earlier and there weren't quite as many bees in that hive. There was a lot of nectar, there was brood, there was not a lot of honey, just a very little bit. So we're hoping that our sunset hive bees have benefited from the sugar syrup that we had out for our colony that failed and have brought that in, and that they're going to have time to turn that into honey before summer sets in. So that's kind of where we are. It's early October up on the mountain. It's starting to get cool up here at night. And so our plan right now is to close these two hives up tonight once the foragers have come back in. And we're going to take these back down to Apex tomorrow. We didn't really want to overwinter our bees up here on the mountain. The weather is so harsh up here. The wind blows really strong up here. And we really have to worry about bears up here. We've got an electric fence around our apiary up here, but we don't come during the harshest parts of the winter. We don't spend any time up here. And if something were to happen and our electric fence failed, we wouldn't have any way of knowing that. So those are some of the reasons that we're going to take them back down to Apex. We think that the colonies will have a better chance of surviving the winter in the milder climate that's down in the central part of the state. So that's where we are. Hopefully next time I'll have 2 cameras running and I won't have a corrupt file, and we'll be able to show you what we're really doing instead of just talking about it. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate you guys supporting our channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that because that really helps us to grow. And give us a thumbs up. And if you've got any comments for us, be sure and leave those. We do read the comments and we learn something every time. So thanks a lot. See you next time. So do you see our queen walking around there?
Yep, she's right in the middle of the section here. She's got a white dot on her. You see all the nectar down below her there.
Pull the feeders out. There was still some sugar syrup left in one of the feeders, and we had some more in the house that we had mixed up last week we didn't use. So we went ahead and moved that over here a good distance from our apiary, and they're sitting right here. And we're just using really simple mason jar feeders. They're inverted here. They're kind of stuck because they're of all the sugar. The lids have got some little tiny holes punched in them, and they're big enough for the honey, for the sugar syrup to drip out, but small enough so that it doesn't just run out. Is that close enough to see it? Okay. And when you invert the bottle, the sugar water kind of runs out a little bit, and then it creates a vacuum, and that keeps it from running out further, but it has it all down into the lid where the bees can get to it and consume that sugar syrup. We also brought the frames that we pulled out of that hive that didn't make it over here. There's a little bit of bee bread still in the frames. There's a little tiny bit of nectar there. And by leaving these frames out, the bees in our apiary will come over here and they'll actually clean out these frames. They'll retrieve the resources that they can use, take them back to their hives, and it'll, like I said, clean up our frames. After that's done, we'll take these frames back to the house and we'll actually put them in the freezer, I think for 3 days, and that should kill any kind of pests that might be in there that we can't see. We don't see any evidence of small hive beetles or wax moths, but there could be some eggs laid in there that we're not aware of. So we'll put the frames in the freezer. That will kill anything that's left in there. And that'll make the frames useful for next year, ready to go. So that's what we're doing. So we've got a lot of activity over here already. The bees have found the sugar syrup, and they're walking around over here on these frames investigating what's here.
Yeah, one of the problems our bees have had this year is we just put a 3/4 inch to there might have been a few 3-inch strips of wax up there, and the bees have had to make all this comb, and it takes I think 6 to 8 times the amount of resources to make comb as it does to make honey, and that's why our bees have had to work so hard this year and don't have much to show for it. Now, that's a small hive beetle walking around right there. It went down in one of the cells, and I'm sure it's wanting to lay eggs here. So that's one of the reasons I was going to go ahead and let the bees have these frames to go ahead and try to clean them out. They'll get everything out, all the resources that are worth having, and then we'll take and put these frames in the freezer, and if there's any small hive beetle larvae in there, freezing it will kill those larvae.